I never used to notice how quiet our street was until he moved in next door. It's funny how one person can change the way you see everything. The sound of a wrench clanking against metal, the low hum of an engine turning over, even the scent of old oil on dynamite all used to mean nothing to me. But now, when I hear those things drifting through my open window, I catch myself smiling, or staring, or trying not to. It started 6 months ago, when Ryan and his dad moved into the old Baker house across the driveway. He was the kind of guy who could fix things without saying much. Wore sleeveless tees in the dead of summer, earbuds always. Hands always dirty with grease. At first, I barely spoke to him. Just polite waves across the fence and the occasional, "Hey, need help?" whenever his dad was around. But then one Saturday, Ryan caught me watching him work on his '98 Mustang, and instead of brushing it off, he smirked and said, "You any good with cars or just good at staring?" That's how it began. Now, every weekend I find myself wandering over whenever I hear his voice or his playlist floating over the hedges. I'll pretend I just needed some fresh air or that I'm taking out the trash, but the truth is I like being around him. I like how he explains things without making me feel dumb. I like the way he runs a hand through his hair when he's frustrated with the carburetor. I like that he never makes me feel like I don't belong there, even though I know I'm much help. I think he knows. Maybe not everything, but enough. Last Sunday, we were both lying under the car, arms brushing occasionally. Legs a little too close. I had to remind myself to breathe slowly, not to shift too much, not to make it obvious that my chest was tight for reasons that had nothing to do with the summer heat. He passed me a socket wrench without looking and said, "You've got steady hands." He doesn't know how unsteady they actually were. Today, he texted me before I could even wander over. "Need an extra pair of hands, you in?" It was the first time he'd asked. Normally, I'd just show up. I stared at the message for a few seconds longer than I should have before typing back, "Always." And now here I am standing at my bedroom mirror, trying to figure out which t-shirt makes me look like I didn't try, even though I absolutely did. I settle on a faded navy one and worn jeans, then head downstairs, ignoring the way my heart picks up speed with every step toward the front door. The sun is high, the asphalt warm under my sneakers, and I can already hear Ryan's voice cursing under his breath as I round the fence. "Thought you bailed," he says, glancing up from the engine. "Not a chance?" He grins, and it's the kind of grin that makes the world feel smaller, like there's only this driveway, this moment, and the two of us. "Good," he says, "because today we're dropping the whole front axle. You ready to get your hands dirty?" I nod, stepping into the sun, into the scent of grease and gasoline and Ryan's cologne faintly mixed in, and just like that, I know something's going to shift between us today. Maybe not everything, maybe not yet, but something real, and I don't think I want to stop it. Asterisk, asterisk, Ryan and I didn't become friends overnight. It was a slow build, like the kind of friendship you don't realize is forming until it's already something solid. At first, it was just about cars. Or at least that's what I told myself. The first time I helped him, I dropped the socket wrench into the engine bay, and it clanged so loud we both flinched. He looked at me like I'd just committed a crime. "Dude, that was the one tool I told you not to lose." "You didn't say that," I protested, crawling in after it. "Yeah, well, I was thinking it loudly." Since then, thinking it loudly became one of our many dumb inside jokes, like calling the rusted rearview mirror Excalibur because it refused to come loose, or pretending the Mustang had a soul and didn't like when I touched it. "You're too gentle with her," Ryan would say, squinting under the hood. "You gotta be firm. She respects confidence." "I'm not trying to date your car, man. Maybe you should." "She's more loyal than half the people I know." I laughed, but there was always a part of me that noticed how he never talked much about friends or relationships, or anything beyond the car and his classes at the community college. He had this quiet around him, like there were things he carried but didn't share. I never pushed. But I always noticed, the more time we spent together, the more those quiet gaps started to fill, not with heavy talks, but with small comforts. Like me bringing over lemon Gatorade without asking because I remembered it was his favorite, or Him saving the playlist we made together and calling it Garage Vibes. It was unspoken, but it was this thread tying us closer. One afternoon, I showed up with a scraped palm from a skateboard fall, and he immediately pulled out the first aid kit without asking questions. He didn't say anything cheesy, just don't bleed on my tools. But he was gentle when he cleaned it. His hands lingered longer than they had to. I didn't breathe for a full 30 seconds. Then he slapped a Band-Aid on me with a smirk and said, "Tough guy." It was the first time I thought just maybe he saw me the way I saw him. That brings us to today. The Mustang's hood is up again. The sun's brutal, but Ryan's in his usual white sleeveless tee, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. I hand him the socket extension he likes, size 10. Always his go-to. "You know me too well," he says, not even glancing. I smile. "Scary, huh? A little. Gonna have to start locking my doors." "Who says I haven't already made a copy of your key?" He raises an eyebrow. "See, that's why I don't trust guys who wear cologne to work on engines." I freeze. What? "I don't." "Relax," he laughs, brushing past me, his shoulder grazing mine for just a second too long. "It smells good, just suspiciously good." I'm not sure what to do with that, so I duck my head and pretend to examine the fuse box. My heart's already reacting. He doesn't even know what his little throwaway comments do to me, or maybe he does. Then comes the complication minor, but enough to shift something between us. "I gotta replace the coil spring," Ryan mutters, scratching the back of his neck. "But I need someone to keep pressure while I set the jack." "It's a two-person job." "Okay," I say quickly. "What do I need to do?" He hesitates. "Well, you kinda have to lie under the car with me, real close. Okay?" "I mean close." I laugh nervously. "Ryan, I've had gym locker rooms and school bus seats. I think I can handle being under a car with you." His eyes flick up at me, and for a brief second, they hold something: hesitation, curiosity, maybe even nerves. Then he nods, tossing me a pair of gloves. We slide under the car, our arms brushing again. His shoulders against mine, the heat from his skin seeping into mine. He smells like engine grease, sunscreen, and something clean beneath it all: soap or maybe his shampoo. "Ready?" he asks. "Yeah." As he adjusts the jack, his thigh presses against mine. Neither of us moves. It would be easy to say it's cramped under here, that there's no space, but there is. He just doesn't shift away, and neither do I. After a moment, he exhales hard. "Okay, hold here, tight." I do. And I feel it again, his hand brushing mine, not on purpose, but not exactly an accident either. My breath hitches, just slightly. I think he hears it, but he doesn't comment. Instead, he says softly, "You're getting good at this." "At Jack's? At not freaking out?" "I wasn't freaking out." "You kinda were." I look over. He's already watching me, eyes amused. But then something flickers in his expression. His gaze lingers just a second longer than it needs to, and this time I don't look away, and just like that, the silence between us changes. It's not awkward. It's full of things neither of us are saying yet. After we're done, we crawl out from under the car, and I stand too fast, brushing off my jeans, needing something to do with my hands. He wipes sweat from his neck and then tosses the rag at me. "You ever think," he says, "how weird it is that a car brought us together?" I catch the rag mid-air. "You think it's weird?" He shrugs. "Not bad weird, just unexpected." I hold his gaze, something stirring in my chest. Unexpected things can be good. He nods, eyes narrowing slightly, like he's trying to read something off my face. "Yeah," he says. "They really can." 2 days after the coil spring job, Ryan asked if I wanted to ride along with him to the salvage yard. He needed a few parts for the Mustang tail light covers, a hose clamp, and some maybe I'll get lucky accessories. I said yes before. He even finished the sentence. It was hot again, too hot for the AC in his old truck to keep up. But he still insisted we drive with the windows down. Wind rushed through, whipping my hair into my face, and Ryan just laughed when he saw me fighting it. "You ever think of getting a haircut?" He shouted over the wind. "You ever think of minding your business?" I shouted back, pushing the strands from my eyes. He just grinned and turned up the music. Something low and grungy filled the cab, and I pretended not to notice the way his hand tapped along the steering wheel in rhythm, or how his shirt stuck slightly to his chest from the heat, his skin flushed from the sun. The salvage yard was 30 minutes out, mostly empty highways and stretches of scrub grass. I kept sneaking glances at him. He caught me once and didn't say anything, just tilted his head slightly. One brow raised like he was curious but not ready to ask. We got what we needed. Eventually, after 2 hours of crawling through sun-bleached junkers and lifting heavy things we probably shouldn't have without help. By the time we got back in the truck, we were both drenched in sweat, dirt smudged on our forearms, and my water bottle was long gone. Seatbelts jammed, Ryan muttered. Tugging at the buckle with one hand, he leaned over the center console. Yanking at the belt, it didn't budge. Mind switching sides? He asked. It's easier to reach it from yours, I hesitated. The truck's cab was tight, especially with the parts piled in the back seat and between our feet. Switching meant crawling over literally, I swallowed. Yeah, sure, I unbuckled and carefully climbed over the console. His hands were still tugging at the belt, which meant I practically had to step over his lap to reach the other side. My thigh grazed his shoulder and I felt every nerve in my body wake up. He didn't move. When I slid into the passenger seat, our arms brushed, then our knees. Then our thighs. The truck was small and we were too close, and he smelled like sun and salt and the faint tang of old engine oil. I forced my gaze forward. Got it? Almost. His voice was quieter. You okay? Yeah, I paused. Why wouldn't I be? He didn't answer right away. Just gave a soft chuckle that wasn't really funny. Don't know. You're quiet. So are you. That's different. I'm always quiet. I risked a glance at him. His face was turned slightly toward the window, jaw tight, but his hand was still resting near the gear shift close enough that if I moved an inch, we'd be touching again, and I wanted that. God, I wanted that. But I was terrified too. Because touching meant acknowledging, and acknowledging meant risking the most important thing I'd stumbled into in a long time. The tension sat between us like a living thing, heavy, unspoken. He finally yanked the seatbelt free with a grunt and clicked it in. Well, he said, exhaling. Guess we're not dying today. Damn, I replied, trying to break the tension. And here I was hoping for one of those dramatic last breath moments. He smirked. Like, tell my mom I love her? I nodded solemnly. Tell the Mustang she was my greatest love. He grinned. I'll pass that along. Then, without warning, he reached up and brushed something from my face. Just a smudge of dirt, probably. But his fingers grazed my temple, slow and deliberate, and stayed there a second longer than necessary. I froze. He noticed. Neither of us moved. Then he dropped his hand. We should go, he said softly, starting the engine. The drive back was silent, not awkward, but tense. I could feel everything I wasn't saying building in my chest, pressing against my ribs like it wanted to break out. I kept glancing sideways, wondering if he was thinking the same thing. If he felt the same static crawling across his skin. If he wanted what I wanted and was just as afraid. Halfway home, the truck started making a weird grinding noise. Ryan swore. You hear that? Yeah, doesn't sound good. Pulling over. He steered us to the side of the road, gravel, crunching under the tires. The heat outside was unbearable, the sun hanging low, and we were surrounded by nothing but dry grass and empty road. He popped the hood, poked around, then slammed it shut again. Alternator belts loose. Could break any second. I don't want to risk driving it back. Okay, I said. So what now? He looked around. There's a gas station like a mile up that way. I can walk and get a tow. Or I'll come with you. He raised an eyebrow. Sure? I don't want to sit in a hot truck alone. We started walking side by side down the highway, the asphalt radiating heat. At some point, our shoulders bumped. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. You always do that? He asked suddenly. Do what? Offer to come along. Even when... It's not your problem, I shrugged. Only with certain people. He nodded slowly. I like that about you. That stopped me for a second. Not the words, but the way he said them. Quiet, like they mattered. We kept walking, slower now. The silence between us was soft this time. And then, without looking at me, he said, You ever think about what this is? My throat went dry. What do you mean? He kicked a pebble. Us hanging out the way it's been. The way it feels sometimes. My heartbeat kicked up again. Yeah, I think about it. He glanced at me, and there it was again, that flicker of something in his eyes. Fear, curiosity, hope. I don't want to screw things up, he said. Me neither. But I don't know. Lately it's felt like there's more here. There is. The words left me before I could stop them. Simple, honest. He stopped walking. So did I. He didn't speak. Just looked at me like he was trying to decide something inside himself. Then he reached out and took the hem of my sleeve between his fingers. It was the lightest touch. Barely anything, but it meant everything. I don't know how long we stood there on the side of a deserted road, the sky bleeding orange behind us, the silence thick between every heartbeat. Ryan still held the edge of my sleeve, like he didn't realize his hand had moved, like he wasn't fully aware of what he was doing. Or maybe he was, maybe we both were. I looked down at his fingers, then back up at his face. His jaw was tight. His eyes, those usually unreadable eyes, were softer now, uncertain. You said there's more here, he finally murmured. What did you mean? I didn't answer right away. My throat felt dry, my thoughts spinning too fast to catch one clearly, but I knew what I meant. And I was tired of pretending I didn't. I said slowly, that it's never just been about the car, or the tools, or fixing things. He let go of my sleeve, but he didn't move away. His hand dropped to his side, brushing mine. Our fingers didn't touch. Not quite. You've been the best part of my days for a while now, I said, voice quieter. Even when we're not doing anything. Even when we're just under a hood, or talking crap, or listening to music. It feels different. With you, he didn't speak. His chest rose and fell with a slow breath. I could almost hear the wheels turning in his head. I pushed forward before I lost the nerve. And I know I've probably been weird about it, I added, my voice shaky now. I try not to say the wrong thing, or do anything that would make you uncomfortable, because I didn't want to screw it up. I didn't want to mess up whatever this is just because I broke off, catching the emotion in my throat. Because I feel something. Ryan looked at me. Really looked, and then he sat down right there in the grass, crossing his legs like he needed to ground himself. The sun lit up the side of his face, and I noticed how tired he looked, tired and overwhelmed and beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. I sat down beside him. He didn't say anything for a long moment. He just stared out at the road, hands clasped in his lap. I'm not good at this, he finally said, almost under his breath. At what? This talking, feelings, whatever this is. I offered a soft smile. You don't have to be good at it, just be honest. He let out a humorless laugh. That's the part I'm trying to figure out. I waited. I didn't press. I just let the quiet stretch between us, warm and nervous and real. I've never felt like this about anyone before, he said finally. Not really, not like this. That surprised me. Never? He shook his head slowly. I've had people I've been with, yeah, girls, one guy once, but it wasn't like this. Nothing serious, just distractions. He rubbed a hand over his face. But you? You feel like something I'd mess up if I said the wrong thing. Like something I don't want to ruin just because I don't have the right words. My chest clenched. You won't ruin it. He turned to me, his eyes meeting mine. There was fear in them, but something else too, hope, longing, like he'd been holding this in even longer than I had. I think about you more than I probably should, he whispered, at night. When I'm working, when I hear a song you like, I find myself wanting to text you for no reason, or hoping you'll walk across the driveway just to ask for a screwdriver you don't even need. I laughed, the sound fragile. He smiled faintly. And every time I look at you, I wonder if you're thinking the same thing. Wondering if maybe you want to say something, but you're scared too. I have been, I admitted, for a long time. I know, he said, and his voice was so gentle it undid something in me. I've seen it. I just didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if I deserved it. I leaned toward him, slowly, like the wind might break the moment if I moved too fast. You do, I whispered. You do deserve it. He blinked rapidly, and then finally he reached for my hand. His fingers were calloused, warm, a little shaky. He laced them through mine like he wasn't sure how long he'd be allowed to hold on. I've never done this before, he said. This? Felt something and let myself actually go for it. I squeezed his hand. Then let's figure it out together? He looked down at our hands for a long second, then up at me. The sun was low now, casting golden light across his cheeks, and his eyes seemed to shimmer under it. I don't want to go back to how it was, he said softly. Before, you won't have to. Another beat of silence passed between us. Then he leaned in. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't fast. It wasn't like the movies. It was careful. He tilted his head, paused just before his lips met mine, like he was giving me one last chance to back away. In single quotes, kiss was soft, brief. It felt like testing something, like a question, but the second was an answer. I reached up, brushing my fingers against his jaw, and pulled him closer. He melted into me, hesitant at first, then sure. And when we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine, and we both exhaled like we'd been holding our breath for weeks. You're shaking, I whispered. He nodded. I'm terrified. Me too. He laughed, a little breathless. This is really happening, huh? Feels like it? He looked down at our still entwined hands, then back at me. I want this, he said. I don't know how to be perfect at it. But I want it, I smiled. I don't need perfect, just honest. He leaned in again, pressing a soft kiss to the corner of my mouth, then rested his head on my shoulder. We sat like that for a long time. Just quiet. Just together. And for the first time since I'd met him, the silence didn't feel heavy or uncertain. It felt like peace. We didn't rush back to the truck dock instead. We sat in the grass as the sky shifted from gold to violet, the heat giving way to something cooler, more bearable. Ryan's head rested against my shoulder, his thumb occasionally brushing mine like he was making sure I was still real. Everything was quieter now. Not in a tense way, but in that peaceful, almost sleepy silence that only comes after you finally let go of something you've been holding in too long. So, I said, breaking the quiet. Are we like dating now? Or was that just a really intense friendship ceremony? Ryan gave a soft laugh. If that's how you kiss your friends, remind me not to meet any of them. Fair warning, I grinned. I'm known for dramatic emotional crises and poor impulse control. He turned his head to glance at me, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. Guess I've got a type. We sat in that light, teasing for a minute, the weight of everything still fresh but no longer pressing on our chests like it had before. I noticed how the space between us had vanished. Our legs leaned against each other now, our arms casually touching, and neither of us moved to reclaim distance. It was subtle, but I felt it, the shift, before every glance, every graze of skin came with a hesitation, a pause, a worry about what it might mean. Now, it just was comfortable, honest. Ryan looked up at the darkening sky. You ever think about how weird timing is? Only all the time. I mean, he said slowly, if you hadn't moved in next door, or if I hadn't been fixing up that car, or if you weren't a complete disaster with tools. Wow, compliment me more. He nudged my leg with his knee. I'm saying maybe this stuff was gonna happen no matter what. Maybe it just waited for the right moment. I let that sit for a second. I like that. You know, what I don't like? What? He sat up straighter. The fact that my truck is still broken and we're still sitting on the side of the road. Ooh, I groaned, dragging a hand down my face. Right, real life? We should probably call for the tow now, he said, pulling out his phone. But I'm warning you, I'm making you sit in my lap when the driver gets here, just to see the look on his face. I rolled my eyes. You're such a menace. Yeah, he grinned. But I'm your menace now. I didn't say anything. To that, just leaned into him a little, letting my head bump his shoulder. We stayed like that while he called in the tow, his free hand slipping into mine like it was the easiest thing in the world. Eventually, the tow truck came, rumbling up the highway in a cloud of gravel dust. The driver didn't comment on our proximity, though I caught him raising one curious eyebrow. When I climbed into the cab and Ryan casually threw an arm behind me, like it was the most normal thing in the world, nice, easy, the ride home was quiet again, but different this time. Not tense, not uncertain, just soft. Every now and then Ryan would glance over at me, his eyes doing that thing, warm, unreadable, but filled with something unmistakably real. When we pulled into our street and stepped out, the driver waved and took off. I expected Ryan to start heading to his door, but instead he turned to me and said, "You coming in?" I paused. I probably should shower and change. I look like I rolled down a hill. He smirked. That's exactly the vibe I'm going for. Wow, we're really lowering our standards fast. He stepped closer, hand grazing my lower back. Hey, I'm just saying, it's weird enough not having you around when we're working on the car. Now I kinda want you around even when we're not. I blinked. That landed heavier than he probably meant it to. You mean like, just hanging out? I mean like, he said softly, I want to figure out what this is with you. Day by day, no pressure, no rushing, just us. A part of me wanted to make a joke, break the intensity with some dumb remark. But instead I nodded. I want that too. We walked toward his porch together, slower than necessary. He held the screen door open and I stepped inside, heart still racing in the best way. Just so you know, I said, kicking off my shoes, if we're gonna be figuring this out together, I get control of the playlist at least 50% of the time, he groaned. Even your sad boy indie stuff? Especially that, he shook his head, smiling. You drive a hard bargain. Good, I said, flopping onto his couch like I'd done 100 times before. Only this time he followed me, sat right next to me. Our shoulders touched, and neither of us pulled away. For the first time, being here didn't feel like tiptoeing around something. It felt like home. Asterisk, a week passed. The Mustang sat untouched in the driveway, still needing that belt replacement, but neither of us rushed. For once, fixing the car wasn't the center of our weekends. We still hung out in the garage, though. Still played music too loud and bickered over socket sizes. But now, when I passed him a wrench, his fingers brushed mine on purpose. Now, when we sat shoulder to shoulder on the workbench, he'd occasionally rest his head against mine without saying a word. And every so often, when I made a dumb joke, he'd lean in just far enough to kiss the corner of my mouth before rolling. His eyes like I'd personally offended him. It was good. It was quiet. It was us, without the hesitation, on Friday. I brought over a pizza and dropped it on the hood of his truck like it was a dining table. You know, I said, we should probably talk about the car at some point. He glanced up from under the hood, brow raised. Which car? Yours or mine? Because yours makes that weird whining sound when it hits second gear. That's just the engine being dramatic. It's part of its personality, he snorted. Sounds like someone else I know. I tossed a napkin at him. He caught it mid-air and smirked. We ate right there, legs dangling off the edge of the truck, grease stains on our jeans and marinara on our fingers. It felt like a ritual now. Pizza, dusk, a little sweat from the lingering heat. I was thinking, Ryan said after a while, licking sauce off his thumb, about the road trip. What road trip? The one I just made up? He said, nudging my knee with his. When the Mustang's done, we should take it somewhere, not far, just somewhere new. I paused, surprised. You serious? Yeah, he said casually, but I could tell he meant it. It'll be our first proper drive, you and me. Just the open road, bad playlists, and whatever snacks you sneak into the glove box. Gummy worms, I said immediately. He pointed at me. Knew it. We went quiet again, but it wasn't awkward. It was full, like always. Then he added, softer, I want something to look forward to. With you. That did something to me. Something real and quiet and deep. I do too. I said, barely louder than a whisper. He leaned back, eyes on the darkening sky. Think we'll be good at this? The whole relationship thing? I looked over at him, this boy who smelled like motor oil and pine soap, who still didn't always say what he felt, but was trying hard. Trying honestly. We'll Mess stuff up, I said. But yeah, I think we'll be good. That made him smile in that lopsided way that always hit me in the chest. After we cleaned up, we ended up on his porch bare feet, sweet tea and mismatched mugs, the quiet hum of cicadas in the background. The kind of evening where everything feels exactly as it should be. I don't know what made me do it, maybe the stars, maybe the way his arm brushed mine, but I reached into my pocket and pulled out a little keychain. It was shaped like a socket. Wrench, something I found in the auto shop downtown. What's this? He asked, taking it from my hand. For the Mustang? I said. First road trip charm? He turned it over in his fingers, eyes soft. You really are a sap. Yep. And you're stuck with me. He held it tightly for a second, then looked up at me, something glowing behind his eyes. I don't think I mind that. Then he took his own keys from his pocket and handed them to me, no words, just a small nod. It was simple. But it meant everything. I curled my fingers around the metal, a smile blooming on my face. Later that night, as I got up to leave, he walked me to the door. And when I turned around, he didn't hesitate this time. He pulled me in by the collar, kissed me like he'd been waiting all day, then rested his forehead against mine. Drive safe, he murmured. I always do, I said. But I drive better knowing you'll be waiting on the other side. He laughed, quiet and happy, and let me go as I crossed the driveway. Key still warm in my hand, I realized something. This wasn't a finish line. This wasn't some dramatic climax or final scene. This was the beginning of something. Something real, something slow. Something steady, something worth every quiet second it took to get here.